Welcome to my channel and thank you for being here with me once more. The body and how it locks the consciousness and the awareness of a soul into having an experience that is limited through the perception capacity of its basic five senses, and combined with the veil of forgetfulness, creates a very strong illusion that the material world is all there is, also making the individual go into a deterministic, and even victim state of mind, causing the soul to have a limited experience as it does not have the context, as memory, to fully know, or remember that it is a lot more than just a body, that it is only having a temporary experience in the world of the living. This naturally creates a limited perception of what existence is, and with it, the concept of I, of me, of the ego identity is created, leaving the soul, the true consciousness we all are, only to wonder with a deep feeling that something very essential is missing. The fear of death then naturally appears, both as the result of the observation of other beings dying around the subject, and because of a deep inner knowledge of its own finiteness. Death as the end of that identity, of that ego attached to that specific creature living its few days of existence in the world of the living, and it will do everything it can to stay alive as long as possible, and no matter what, and that many times may even include going over the lives of the members of its own species, with it contributing to the concept of survival of the fittest. That strong and natural attachment to life makes it even harder for the individual to truly know that its awareness does not end when its life in the physical is over, leaving the notion and the concepts associated with life after death, including all the proof there may be, only as the result of a strong wishful thinking, as the result of denial, and of not being able to accept the subject's ego's destruction with death, because we are all so strongly programmed to hold on to life no matter what, while we are alive. But some people do remember past lifetimes, to one degree or another, and some others even remember how it was to be in the space in between lifetimes. Strangely enough, those individuals openly accept to be able to appreciate life even more than the individuals that do not remember anything past their present lifetime. Although this is only a subjective observation, it is also backed up by the experience of the individuals that after suffering a near-death experience end up changing their mindset about life and death. Individuals like this tend not to worry so much about their destruction at death, and so they focus more in enjoying life, also knowing that dying will not solve their psychological problems and their mental pain. Everything that is tormenting the individual while in the side of the living will follow it to the spirit world, as our experience and all what we've learned while alive is all we take to the other side, creating with it the perception from the side of the spirit world, of needing to reincarnate to solve everything that the individual perceives that it left undone. All those mental and psychological problems end up being taken to the afterlife when an individual does not let go of its ego identity, as those problems are a great forming factor for the ego, precisely because of the person's fear of destruction. Individuals that have died by suicide only end up finding out that what they were trying to escape from, all their mental and psychological pain has followed them into the spirit side, and what's worse, they no longer can do anything about their problems, as what caused them is inaccessible to them now, because they are back in the world of the living. This causing the individual to strongly want to reincarnate, and into someone who in their spirit's perception, holds an angle that could help them solve their problems and issues. Another strong cause for reincarnation is that the soul cannot escape all the hurt and psychological pain that followed it from its last life, making them use the veil of forgetfulness as some kind of temporary relief to escape their troubles, as an escapism mechanism or reaction. All what I have just said is almost the opposite of what I explained in my previous video, one leaning towards all the data that points to a positive outcome, where all the hurtful memories of the events that took place in the last incarnation, are transmuted into positive ones that nurture spiritual growth, and the other where those traumatic events become something that torments the soul, as in its perception those issues cannot be solved from the spirit side. So that makes us wonder which one of the two is the correct, and I strongly think both are correct, but whether one or the other will be experienced will depend only on the perception and mentality of the individual that passes on. As a reference, I will use the work of Dolores Cannon again, because there she insists that everything points out that all the spiritual work needed to solve the subject's psychological issues has to be done only in, and from the side of the living, while alive, although I personally don't fully agree with her conclusions here, only partially. I would insist that the idea that all the issues of a soul have to be solved from the side of the living, is because those issues were formed or caused precisely in the side of the living, and being a soul in the afterlife, everything in the material world would logically be inaccessible, yet the issues that are, or were formed in the spirit side would be able to be addressed and fixed from that side. All this seen from the perception idea that there is a spirit and a material side, what makes beings advanced enough to know that such duality is only an illusion, to be able to address all their issues from whatever side their attention may be on, if a being of such a level even has that kind of issues at all, of course. I strongly believe that whether one or the other concepts, about what happens to the subject's interpretation of traumatic events while living, does not depend on anything else but on the individual itself. Whether the individual can transmute bad events into useful and nurturing ones for its spiritual growth, or whether it stays in a state of being tormented by those same events depends only on who each soul is. It depends on its individual way and philosophy of life it has developed when alive and during its past lifetimes as well, whether the individual remembers them or not, as they still shape who they are from the unconscious. And what can be worse, an individual in a certain state of mind while it died, can remain trapped in its own thoughts of hurt, remaining in an etheric body manifestation form, that is not fully in the world of the living and it is not in the spirit world either, being self-trapped in what we would call the lower astral. As a ghost, perhaps. Extreme feelings of psychological pain and hurt, a strong attachment to anything in the material world, and mostly a lot of anger, fear and guilt are what trap a soul there in the lower astral, that I could describe as a dark caricature-like mirror of the world of the living. A badly manifested, twisted interpretation of the so-called material world. In my opinion, no one gets lost nor trapped anywhere when they disincarnate, because they are only experiencing exactly what they are focusing on, and as another well-respected spiritual leader, Teal Swan, explained, a ghost or a spirit would only be some sort of an echo, and not the objective experience of a real soul. I personally would add that the echo could be caused by some kind of temporal anomaly, as time is extremely flexible and is only in accordance to who is experiencing it. So in certain circumstances, a ghost perhaps may only be a glimpse of a past occurrence that has filtered into the present moment enough to be seen. As in that ghost may not be a spirit at all, but a temporal anomaly where two different events, both happening in the world of the living, cross over as there is no time and there is only now. Our approach to life, our values, our ethics, and our attitude form who we are. We are not given a soul, and we don't have a soul either, we are a soul. We are who are building our souls as we go along, we must form who we are because that is our soul, so experience and how we interpret it is what matters, leaving everything material as only a means to achieve one or another wanted, or needed experience, and nothing to ever get truly attached to. A soul is built by who it is, and it takes a lot of effort, time when alive, and dedication. It is difficult and it is complicated, but that is our mission and our purpose in life and in the afterlife as well. To build who we are. And what we make out of what we experience is who we are. And we build our soul no matter where our focus may be, in the world of the living or in the spirit world as well, as it is all experience. If we are who is manifesting our lives, and who decides what and how we experience everything in it, the same happens on the side of the spirit world, and even more there as we manifest everything much faster there, because that reality is less dense. So heaven or hell is not some place we are sent to, or where we go when we die. It is who we are. We make it, we cause one or another and all the degrees in between, be it when we are alive or when we are in the spirit world, because in the end it is all the same, everything is spirit world. The material world is only an illusion, I insist. We create our heaven, and we create our hell, because what we experience is a direct reflection of who we are. In the material world, a change of thought and of perception may take time, as everything there is pasty and slow, but it does change. And no matter what we may be going through in the now, what happens next depends only on us, and the value we give to each thing. In the world of the living it is easy to feel we have no control over our lives, and in many cases it may be so, but only as the result of our relinquishing our right to decide over ourselves, and this mostly occurs as the result of attachments to ideas like guilt, karma, and feelings of personal worthlessness. And this can be the result of being in the wrong environment, and around people who are toxic to us. All this making us feel that we do not deserve a change in our lives, because we may even be selfish, but selfish towards manipulative people with narcissist traits, most probably, especially if they are close family members. Who we are, and what we will live, or experience depends on us and on us only. This is why it is so important to create and to build our souls. This is why we must take responsibility for what we think and what we do. And not follow anyone, but be nurtured by all, being us who decides what parts of the content we consume are useful to us, and what parts aren't. Always knowing that everything is information, and that nothing is the ultimate truth, as that only depends on points of view that may be perfectly valid for the other person. We are all building our souls as we go along, but in the end, and from the most expanded point of view, we truly are all one, and all the other people are just our shadows, who we once were, and who we will be next. Being kind to others is being kind to oneself. So please love yourself.